Hello, my name is Kristen Weaver, and I am the Deputy Coordinator for Globe Observer. And welcome to this month's Globe Observer Connect session. We're really excited to have you here. We're going to have a conversation with Monique Palmisano, who is an active Globe Observer in the Bahamas, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how she got involved and how she observes with Globe Observer. So I will go ahead and share your slides. Monique, go ahead and please take it away.
Good day, everybody. So, like she said, Kristen, my name is Monique Palmisano. I am a weather enthusiast from the Bahamas. I am the founder of Bahamas Storm Chasers and the Weather Enthusiast Rotary Fellowship. I'm also a taxi driver by profession, the only paid job. Everything else is volunteer. Um, Gymnastics mom and track and field mom, so my life is always busy. I'm a COCORAS volunteer, a global observer volunteer on mosquitoes and clouds. Um, and anytime I'm doing like some expos with different places, like if it's Earth Week or something like that, I would introduce the Globe Observer program to try to get people to volunteer. I'm also a volunteer for International Center for Waterspout, and because of my reporting, I'm actually in the top 10 waterspout hunters in the world. So 3 persons from the Bahamas, and we work as a team here. I'm also a Spotter Network and Sky One from the US. So first of all, I'll start off with um, how I became a weather enthusiast first. And I was living in Harbor Island from 1989 until maybe to 1995. I left there. And during the time that I was there, I had experienced Hurricane Andrew. And that's when I became more enthusiastic about weather, and I started just keeping my television on the weather channel. Every day I came home, I just was watching the weather. And so that's how I became more enthusiastic about it. But during the pandemic, because your life is so busy, you don't have time to do this. I wanted to do gardening at my house. I didn't have time to do that. But something slowed us down tremendously, which was the COVID-19 pandemic. And during that time, for my mental health, because my job was affected, and I had nothing to do. People were just losing their minds here. And I was like, I'm not going to let that happen to me. Whatever little bit of money I have, I started doing some online classes. It wasn't much to get certified, just to understand the basics of these classes. And so I said, okay, I'll just pay, or just to get the certificate, or you could have still done the classes without getting the certificate. But I paid because I wanted my certificate to say proof of me doing these classes. And so I started studying backyard meteorology with, I think it was the Harvard University online. They had an online class to do there. And then I got more excited, started doing One Ocean, One Planet, because I like the park by the beach here. Of course, we're surrounded by water. So I like the park by the beach. And sometimes just killing time waiting on a job, or because I do prearrange for most of my jobs, I just sit there by the beach because the airport isn't too far from the beach. And I just would watch and observe whilst I'm waiting for that time for my flight to come in. That I started also to do tsunami, storm surge, natural disaster, climate change, and climate solution. Now, that natural disaster class, that one tells you every single thing, right down to volcanoes that we don't have here in the Bahamas. And I never knew nothing about volcanoes, but I could understand just a little bit about it now, just by that little class that I did. But I'll tell people straight up, I am not a scientist and I am not a meteorologist. I'm just someone who's very enthusiastic about learning more about the weather, because the Bahamas is an archipelago of islands, and we are in the hurricane zone also. You could do the next slide. And of course, like I said, I'm certified with Storm Spotter in the US, which is Spotter Network and Sky One. Next. And so, like I said, how it all started for me. So I have some pictures of the archives from Harvey Roberts, who lives in Harbor Island. So these are some of the pictures here of the homes that were damaged. As you can see, both of those homes do not have portions of their roof, or most of the roof is torn off. Next. And this here is two churches in Harbor Island. And the churches in Harbor Island was actually used for shelters. And as you can see, the whole roof is off these ones here, basically. Next. So this is another set of homes that as you can see, it was a total disaster with their roof. So, and these are just, you can see the persons taking their stuff out of their car, out of their home. But most of these homes, the island is very small. I think Harbor Island is about 3 miles by maybe 2. It's a very small island off North Eleuthera. And so Eleuthera was the first island to really get hit, including Harbor Island, from Hurricane Andrew in 1992. I could always remember this year because at that time I had a daughter that was 2 years old. You could do the next slide. So this is the road, and the two photos that you see here, they're two different angles. One is looking one direction and one is looking from the other direction. And as you can see, the street is not passable by a vehicle. Those vehicles are really parked on the side of the street, but people had to really walk where they had to go. I don't even think some places you could have used a bicycle, because especially the coastline, that's how the roads was dig up from the storm, from Hurricane Andrew. And all of these photos from Hurricane Andrew is actually taken by Harvey Roberts, who was a professional photographer in Eleuthera. The next. This is the all-age school. So Harbor Island is a small community, a small island, and they only have one school there at that time. So this is the all-age school, and as you can see, there's no roof on top of the school at all. And I think some of the windows and everything was blown out at that time also. You could do the next one. And of course, I just came back I had to add these photos in there because I just was stuck in another island in the Bahamas, Inagua, during Hurricane Oscar, which came there on the 20th of October. I went with my Rotary Club. We always do a vision expo, and we go to the various islands to help people out. Not people, but children. We do eye testing, dental, and hearing on kids free of charge. And so we were just down there, and during our Saturday session, we had to stop operation and start preparing for Hurricane Oscar that was heading there in a few hours, because that storm picked up all kind of speed and got the energy within 12 hours from not even being a named storm to category 1. So this is a photo here. This photo is actually their lake or their pond. I don't know what they call it, but the street was not passable. The street is really covered and even off with the lake. So you cannot know that would even be a road if you're not from there. So the next slide. And this is just a picture where a tree fell on someone's car there. It's two photos, but I guess it's different directions. And these photos is from the Inagua community. Next. Okay, so then here it is. In 2021, I will say that I actually joined the Globe Observer program, but I didn't understand too much of it at the time when I joined the Globe program. But I did do some classes on it early starting, but I was never too active in it. I started to get active in it actually 2023, when right after I started to do my own Facebook page, because I always remember going to the Met office with another storm chasing group, that the Met office people always said they needed alerts to go out for people on the marine. So I said, well, why not me do the one on the marine? So here it is. I started Bahamas Storm Chasers a year and a half ago. It was April of 2023. And The majority of my followers, I would say, less than 100 of them are my friends, and the rest is people I don't know, and they are on yachts and sailboats traversing in the Bahamas on vacation. So they follow the alerts and stuff that I would send out. So we will have alerts. I guess you could go to the next page. We will have alerts coming out from the Met office. And so we ask people, if you want to come and join, just volunteer your time. There is no paying job here. You have to have a passion to do this. And we only want you to observe the weather events. You could be driving around doing anything, and you may see a funnel cloud outside. Just take a picture. It isn't hard to do, just to give us the data. Taking your photos and videos, knowing what's the location, and just reporting and posting. By posting, you can post on the page. It doesn't matter. So the next slide. So once you're doing your posting, we tell people we need to know who's posting. We don't want you to post someone else's photo and then they come back and say, hey, that's my photo. How you get that up there? So we want the credit to go to the person that actually took the photo so they can get the recognition for it. And what weather event is being posted, whether there's a thunderstorm you see in, or a rain shaft, or conversion lines, or which is my favorites actually, the conversion lines, or if you see some water spout activities or stuff like that. Sometimes you would even have fire. If you see a fire, we ask people to post it too. And then we want to know when the event happened, date, time, very important. And if you see something, you need to know the actual location. We don't want to send out the wrong location for these stuff. Next. So why should you help us? Or why should you help anyone that's doing volunteer to collect data? It is because the meteorologists can only see what's above the radar. We help meteorologists and scientists collect data that is truly needed for forecasting. So, like I call myself a citizen science person, is a significant research conducted with participation from the general public. Citizen science are sometimes referred to as amateur, non-professional like myself, scientists, who also save lives and property. Next slide. So, like I said earlier, most of the members on my Bahamas Storm Chasers group are actually on yachts and sailboats, with a few local marine vessels like fishing boats and mail boats here in the Bahamas. Next. So we also ask people, not just if you see a weather event, you could say, hey, it's a sunny day, especially I did the Weather Enthusiast Rotary Fellowship one. Also for Rotary, I had to get approval from Rotary International to start that. And I want people to go on that page, actually, to post whatever the weather event is, whatever country you're in, it doesn't matter. We want to know what's going on around the world. And we just ask people to donate like $10, and that funds will go directly to Rotary International for the disaster response funds. It doesn't come to us. There's a link I sent out in the Facebook page. So when people join, you just pay $10 annually. And by the way, today is World Polio Day. Next slide. So this is one of my guests, because most of my guests that comes to the Bahamas, because I'm a taxi driver, most of my guests that comes to the Bahamas, they know that I do weather, because sometimes if I see something and they're with me, I have two phones always. I give them one, and I'm using one on my Zello channel, calling somebody else and telling them what we're doing. I give the guest one, I say, start recording. So they get excited when they see these things happening. So here is one of my guests, and he was just clowning around because, of course, you can see he has something in his hand. And he was staying at one of the hotels here in the Cable Beach area called the Goldwyn. So the Goldwyn, as you can see, this was a day, the thunderstorm, I did not even want to drive in because it was crazy. It was the same day that we had that microburst, and you will see the photos right after this, that came down, and a tree actually fell on someone's truck and broke the glass. So we tell people, if you hear thunder roar, go indoors. And so this year, As you see, I put that there. Don't be outside, period, in red. Next slide. So these are just the pictures of the downburst, because people thought that it was a tornado, but it wasn't. Because if you see a tornado, you would understand a tornado spins, and so when that spins, you can look for the trees going in this direction, and we didn't see that. All we saw is bam, everything down, and that's how these trees was. And so the Met Office has to give that okay to say yes, it was a microburst, not us, because we're not the scientists. But photos and stuff helps them to make the call. Next slide. And this is the walkway actually, because the tree was, the roots was already underneath the walkway. This was the walkway lifted up. Next slide. So this water spout here was taken by MJ Tremblay. She's one of the residents that live here in the Bahamas. And the same time she was taking this, I was at a further distance doing the full recording of it, because like I said, I like to park by the beach. And I was doing a full recording of it from when it first started to when it finished. But way she was so closer, she got the perfect shot and a slight little a little small video of this going on at the same time. So by her sending this to me, because like I said, most of my people know that I do weather, she sent it to me in the WhatsApp, and then I sent it in the WhatsApp group, and I posted it on Facebook, and of course, International Center for Waterspout, they're in my page, and I tagged them. And before October end, this photo was actually the photo for October for 2023. And we did not even start October good yet. So just by people sending in their pictures, this is one credit went to MJ Tremblay.
It's an amazing photo.
Yes. Next slide. So this is why I ask people to post too, because I really got more into this in the last couple of years. And in 2023, as you can, 2022, you can see the small little map with the small little climatology scale there. And as you can see, in 2022, the US, of course, is going to always be number one because they have hundreds of water spouts sometimes in one day. But the Bahamas, because of us reporting, we were second place in the red. Yellow was Italy, and I think green was Greece. But the more you post, the more you'll be recognized as a country also at the same time. But now the photo to my left, you will see it's 23, 24. The Bahamas is actually in third place now, with Italy, I think it's Italy, in second place. And the US, of course, will always be in first place. So this is what we get when we actually report. So we're helping the data for waterspout activity at the same time. Next slide. So as you can see, this is my photo here. If you go on the International Center for Waterspout page and then you hit World's Top Waterspout Hunters in the world, you will have Monique Palmisano, Kevin Benty, and Robert Meister. And actually, Kevin Benty and Robert Meister, whilst we were in Inagua, they actually assisted me with radar information because one of our radars for the Southern Bahamas was not working at the time of the storm, but we had to get the data elsewhere to actually make sure the people on the ground there knew what was happening. Next slide. So how do we receive information? Many ways, but the main focus is the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. That's who we go by to send out the alerts. We cannot send out any alerts. We have to go by what they send out. So they would actually, I'm actually in their email list, and they would send out the emails to my Bahamas Storm Chasers email, and I would send that out every day inside my Facebook page. I don't do it too much on the WhatsApp because we don't want to fill up people's stuff unless it's an alert or something, then I would send them in the WhatsApp. But the daily forecast for the marine and the public would be posted on the Facebook page. So they can have accuracy of what's going on around the Bahama Islands. Next slide. So this is just the heat advisory the Bahamas would send out. And once they send this, we send it out. You could go to the next slide. And this is how our warning would look, but it's a little prettier now. This is just an old photo now, but they made it a little bit more attractive looking. So, but this is an old photo, but we'll just leave it there. But that's severe warning from the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. They normally would send the map also, and they would put in red writing the islands that will be affected. Next slide. And I think in the summertime, it was very, very hot here. So they had to send out a lot of drought and active fires because the fires was just on a few of our islands and it was just out of control. Even the capital, we had a fire that the airport had to actually shut down also until they had clearance for landing. Next. Okay, these are the other programs that, like I talked about earlier, that we help with data collection. So there's the COCORAS, we have the rain gauge. We send that in daily, and this is this is how the Met Office gets their data also by reading from the COCORAS, and it's all volunteer service again. Next. And this is the rain gauge. I actually have the new rain gauge here on my display in the back. Ian will probably drop that photo inside the chat group so they can see. But the new rain gauge now has spikes on top because sometimes, you know, the birds will sit on your rain gauge, but you have to clean your rain gauge every month. But the new ones now have the spikes on top so that you can avoid the birds sitting on it. Next
now,
slide.
I'm guessing that picture on the right is not in the Bahamas.
Oh, no, that's snow. We don't do snow. We don't do snow, just strictly rain. So NASA Globe Observer, and I have my little, I don't know if you can see it here, but I have my display in the back. So they have like the eclipse, the clouds, the mosquitoes, the land cover, the trees. My two that I like, and I always tell people, you pick your choice. Whatever you like. People like the environment. People like the earth. People like mosquitoes. People like clouds. Me, clouds is my favorite of all. So I would try my best once I'm not too busy, because my job is mobile all the time. I would try my best to make sure I put in the data for those. The next slide. So we just had the US Embassy last year, September, when we had the Globe Observer program that was on mosquitoes here with Holly, but she's not here. And this is the Met Office, of course. Ian McKinsey is in the room with me now. And Godfrey, right? Mm-hmm. Godfrey Burnside. And then Kimberly Minus and myself, we all sat down at the US corner at the University of the Bahamas for the embassy because they were really hosting the webinar at that time. So we met in the room whilst everybody else was online. Next slide. So after going to that webinar, we decided as a team to meet at a beach, had some pizza and some drinks, and we said, let's make our mosquito traps. And so if you look at this photo here, this is some of my friends in the back who joined my group. That is my goddaughter in the front, and the little one sitting down in the front, it's my 15-year-old now. And we were cutting the bottles out like how Holly would have shown us on the webinar, how to do it. And then you have to put your socks. If you go through the photos, you'll see them as we go. And it was showing what we were doing to make our traps for the mosquito. Unfortunately, I did not have any eggs in my own other than maybe some other creatures. You could do the next slide. So here it is. They were cutting the bottles open and turning them upside down. We found some rocks and some trees, leaves, like green leaves to make it look earthy. And you could do the next slide. And then we got black socks. We find some old black socks to make it nice and dark housing for them. And then everybody went home. We distributed the traps, and everyone went home with their traps. And that's the team. That's half of our team there. And then here it is again. Like after I did all of that, I just was approved by Rotary International. We just got the approve. This month makes 1 year since we got the approve to start the Weather Enthusiast Rotary Fellowship. And I think this is the almost the end, eh? Yes. And it says, follow me, Bahamas Storm Chasers, via Twitter, Facebook, and Twitter, or Weather Enthusiast Rotary Fellowship via Facebook. And then I think I had a video, if you could play that. If not, it doesn't matter.
I don't think, I think that's the last one that I had in the link that you sent me. So
yeah, I couldn't get it to go onto my slide because I was stranded on the island of Inagua, and we just came back yesterday, and the internet was up and down.
No, but that was wonderful, Monique. I thank you so much for sharing. I love that you had this enthusiasm and then went and sought out like courses and trainings in it. I think that's wonderful. I think that's really inspirational. And I didn't mention this at the beginning, but just to let everybody know, I think people are used to these virtual meetings, but we are recording this meeting. So if you have questions that you want to ask, but you don't want to be on camera, just be aware that we're recording. So if you turn your camera on, that will be part of the recording. If you don't want to be on camera, you can put your questions in the chat. And we try to keep these fairly short. We're at about half an hour, but I'd love to have it. If there are a few questions, please raise your hand, or like I said, put your questions in the chat. I think this is just so, I love how much you've done with it. And I'm actually a recent Rotary member, just joined the Rotary in my community here in Greenbelt. So I was actually at a Rotary meeting this morning. So that's, I think the connection of the science and the observations, but also some of the community service and things that Rotary does, I think is a really neat fit.
Yes.
So one question that I had, well, we'll see if anybody else has their hands raised or put something in the chat. So it seems like you're having people report sort of through social media and through WhatsApp and things like that. Have you found, just, as somebody who helps run the Globe Observer app, do you find that there are barriers for people taking observations that way? Or how do you make sure that the information gets in a central location that can be accessed later when people are sort of piecemealing, posting it up on Facebook or wherever, or WhatsApp?
Okay, so what happens is I allow people to post on the Facebook page. The Facebook page, I had to make my Facebook page private because it was a lot of scams and trolls on there, and it was getting very annoying. So now it's private. So if you want to be a member of it now, we have to, you can just hit the link, whether it's the Weather Enthusiast Rotary Fellowship one or the Bahamas Storm Chasers one, both are private, and we will accept you in. But once we start seeing scams come in, we just delete you or block you completely. But you are free to post anything that is weather related on there. If someone puts something in the WhatsApp group, if it is traveling a lot through social media, some things I would put if it's necessary, but I like to put photos that I take myself, just so no one says that I put something that it was their photo. But just to keep it on the safe ground, because people could be that way they don't want their photo to go on. Unless I have an approval from them, then I would put it on the Facebook page. But most of the photos and stuff would be mostly mine's. Let me put it that way. Yes. Now, when it comes to the rain gauge, everybody has their own rain gauge center and their coordinates for where their rain gauge is set up. So the Met Office would have access of getting that because we just report everything to Cocoras, which is in Colorado, and they would get the data directly just by going on the website, and they will see it daily. Now, whilst I was in Inagua dealing with the storm, I actually could not report, but there is also the link there for multiple days that you miss that you can just report from this day to that day, and they still get the data.
Yeah, yeah, and Coco Ross is an excellent program. And it has that. I mean, if you ever wanted to get set up to report that same data to the Globe database for precipitation,
I was
Globe and
looking for
Coco
that.
Ross actually use the same type of rain gauge. That
Yes,
same type of rain gauge is what both programs use. So I'm not
yes.
seeing any questions. Please, if folks have things they want to ask, raise their hands. Raise your hands. Um, I guess one other, so it looks like you've done clouds and mosquitoes, and I will say clouds is our most popular in the Globe Observer app. That
Yes.
you are not alone in that clouds is the most popular. But have you experimented at all with land cover or trees? Have you thought about doing that at all? Maybe even after a storm, reporting with land cover some of those the damages and things. We'd love to have those reported as land cover observations after it's safe. Of course, we don't want you. We
Of
want you to stay
course.
inside, as you emphasized. Stay inside when the weather's dangerous.
Exactly.
Don't risk yourself for the reporting
Yes.
data.
Well, I have thought about it, but because my job is so mobile all the time, like I sometimes I don't get off until it's pretty late,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes I just don't have time to stop to look. But there is one tree that I would like to really monitor, and that's the one by our hospital because that looked like that about 1,000 years old. The trunk on that tree, I mean, that's an amazing photo to take. I will probably take a photo of it and put it in the the Globe Observer for the trees. But that tree there, that's an amazing trunk on that. I don't know how old that is. Kip.
That's
Ian, do you
neat.
know? It has to be an old tree. The trunk on it is just amazing. It's a good
Wow.
photo.
Yeah. Well, and I think I also appreciated the way you talked about how sort of, we think COVID was obviously a very difficult situation all around the world,
Yes.
but it did provide some opportunities to think about,
Yes.
when you have a little bit more time, what do you think is important? If you can't do your regular work, what do you fill your time with? And so I love that you took that, what was a difficult situation for a lot of
Yes.
people, and made that into an opportunity to learn
Yes.
something new and collect some data, and get joined in on doing something different than your usual. When you can't drive your taxi, you can go take
Yes.
observations.
And with COVID, I mean, I've been living in my house for like 25 years, almost 26 now, and I always wanted to do a gardening. I never got the opportunity to garden until COVID. Now you could come in my yard and pick peppers and get your mint for your tea or your rosemary. I am just the neighbors comes in my yard now because I did that during COVID.
Well, I'm still not seeing any other hands, and we're getting at 40 past the hour. But so thank you so much for Monique for sharing your story. And I believe Ian, you were the one who I think forwarded on the
Yes.
information originally. So we appreciate you
How about
passing that
Ian?
along, so we could have this wonderful conversation. And I've put in the chat the profile of Monique on the website that's got some of those pictures and some more details. But this is just lovely to hear all of this, and all the outreach you're doing as well, that it's not just you as an individual observer, but you're also sharing with people. And I think your job is a great way to be an ambassador
Yes.
for this, and tell other people about all this work you're doing, with Globe, with Rotary, with the Storm Chasers. I don't know how you find time to do it all. So that's
Trust
wonderful.
me. Trust me, my mind is my brain just be spinning, but it's something exciting. Once you're enthusiast about something, you will get the job done. Trust
That's
me on
great.
that. But I will
Oh,
tell you, because of the my storm group and my followers mostly are people on yachts and sailboats, they actually post a lot of the water spouts too, or a lot of the clouds activity or thunderstorms that they would see throughout the islands of the Bahamas. So we get some of the data from them, and I thank them for even being a member of the group.
yeah. Well, I may have to follow your Bahamas Storm Chasers and your weather enthusiast groups, even if I'm not there in the Bahamas. Maybe
Yes.
I can come visit someday and take some observations there with you. But
Well, the
well,
weather Sorry, the weather enthusiast one, I'd like for people to join that one too,
Okay.
because it's for a good cause too.
Well,
Um,
let me.
the weather enthusiast Rotary Fellowship one, that one is for a good cause.
Okay,
And
well, so I'll put that back up on the screen for a minute. So the Bahama storm chasers, especially for folks who are in the Bahamas, it sounds like, which we didn't ask where everybody was joining from today, but that weather enthusiast Rotary Fellowship. So I'll make sure that I join that one as well.
yes,
Excellent.
yeah,
Well,
and you can post photos from wherever you are, whatever type of weather you have, even if it's a sunny day. We want to see. I don't want to be the only person posting on the page. It's for all countries to fellowship and
excellent.
mingle,
That's
get
excellent.
to know each other.
Well, we so appreciate you and appreciate the good work we're doing. And we hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much, Monique.
Thank you, Kristen.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. And again, thanks everybody for joining. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. If people missed the beginning of it, as soon as I can, I will get the video. I just have to clean up the captions and things to make sure it's accessible for some of our government regulations about accessibility for people who are blind or visually impaired or hearing impaired. So I will get it posted and I will send the video link out to pass along to others who might have missed it today. And I'll make sure, I think you were on the registration list, so I'll send it to you and post it on our website so you can share with others that you would like to,
Yes,
and post it in your groups.
exactly. Post it in the group. We want everybody to see it. We want you to join.
It'll probably take me at least a week or so to get
That's
that
okay.
all
You take your
processed and sent out.
time.
But so a week or two, but I will send it out as soon as it's ready.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much and take care. Bye
Okay,
bye,
bye.
everybody.